Hey everyone, this is episode 14 of the Something Show, and I'm your host, Andy Wood. For those of you who do not know, this is the show where I talk about comic books and gaming. When it comes to the comic books, I'm going to pass along some comic book news that you may or may not know. I'm going to talk about what I've been reading this week, or my read pile, and what I think. And then I'm also going to tell you what's coming out new this week. And since I'm a gamer, I'm going to talk about some gaming news that, again, you may or may not know. I'm going to also tell you what I've been playing, and that's it. That's all you get. Sorry. And again, this is my third show of doing this kind of unrehearsed with no cuts, so it's actually been a little bit more fun for me. I don't know if it's been more entertaining on the other side, so why don't you guys let me know. So without further ado, comic book code. So for those of you that don't know, this first time you're watching, there's going to be a comic book code. There's going to be a comic book title, so that'll tell you that if you redeem this code, you get that title. It's kind of how it works. There should be Marvel and DC this week. Marvel and DC this week. And if you're quick enough to the punch, you can redeem the code at the sites that I'll put down in the show notes there. And you get yourself a free comic book, because comic books are cool. Free comic books are even more cool. And reading comics that are free is the coolest, I think. So after our first comic book code, we're going to move on to some comic book news. Now, what's going on this weekend, or the last 2 days, I think, my dates are a little fuzzy, is the New York Comic Con. So I got a little bit of news coming out of there. So, according to my notes here, we just kind of wrapped up. We're coming up on issue 24 of most of the DC titles, the ones that have been around since DC did their reboot. People are calling it a reboot. They don't want to call it a reboot, but it's pretty much a reboot. So for the issues that are on 24, those are the ones that have been around since they did it. There's some that are on like issue 12 or 13. They were the first round of replacements that titles didn't make the cut. And then there's a couple that also didn't quite make the cut that later on got replaced. So why am I all telling you this? Well, it was just announced at the New York Comic Con, almost said San Diego Comic Con, that there is a new Batman title coming. It's called Batman Eternal. It'll be a new ongoing series. And for those of you that have been curious, what did this reboot do? Well, we don't know. And that's pretty darn exciting, because we don't know what they're keeping. We don't know what they're throwing away. I really don't think they're throwing away anything, but I think they're going to bring it back just in a better way, I guess. But one of the things they're bringing back is Stephanie Brown. And for those of you who don't know who Stephanie Brown is, she was actually a Batgirl when Barbara Gordon was still in the wheelchair and was Oracle. So they're bringing her back. She'll be in the Batman Eternal series. So that's kind of exciting, because I actually did enjoy her representation of Batgirl. She was younger when she started as opposed to when Barbara Gordon started. So she was a little bit more, I think she was more creative than Barbara Gordon was. But again, we're talking about different times when the comic books were created. So, and they even met once, and it was pretty interesting. I liked it. Also coming out of the New York Comic Con is this month celebrates the Walking Dead's 10th anniversary. Now, for those of you that are into comic books and you do get the Walking Dead on a regular basis, you'll know that issue 115 came out this week. And I think I talked about it last episode. They actually released mini covers, 10 covers, plus a blank variant cover. And all these variant covers, if you put them together, created this panoramic representation of the timeline, or the storyline, excuse me. And it was the same thing on the inside, just different covers, just, telling the story, like I said. They also released a issue number 1 that was a 10th anniversary, and it's the same content as the original number 1. However, This one is fully colored. Now, again, for those that don't know, The Walking Dead has always been a black and white comic book. So for 115 issues and 10 years, the comic book has always been in black and white. But this issue number 1 is in color, but that's not all you're getting. You're actually getting Robert Kirkman's original pitch. So the comic book has been drawn based upon the original pitch, and the original pitch was actually kind of thrown out because it was a very bad idea on how it was pitched. And I don't know how that would make me feel if I went to pitch something and someone said, "Oh, this is the worst idea ever," and then all of a sudden, you know, you just think, "Oh, I shouldn't be able to do this," and you know, I want to go wash cars or something. So anyways, it's cool to pick up. It's $5.99 versus the normal $3.99. But like I said, it's in color. You get the original pitch, and it's drawn and inked and whatnot. So that's awesome. So we had some DC news, some Image news, and I thought I would try to round this up with some Marvel news. For those of you that are watching the Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was announced that they were actually picked up for a full season. So 22 episodes were ordered. So we look forward to, even after the holidays, more Marvel television. So I think it's good. And again, I think the show's going to be around for a while because and I probably was very verbose last time. I think it was too wordy. This show can give launch points for story ideas that they can play off of movies and include some tidbits. So in real brief, I think the show can hold its own with its own stories, yet provide a tie-in center for movies. And since they've had so many movies to actually come off of, you have all this stuff that they can play off of. So if you've been watching it, it's been pretty good. I will get up on my soapbox and say Graviton as the supervillain, I'm not buying it. I don't see it that cool of a supervillain, but maybe by easing in with like what I call a third string or fourth string supervillain and working your way up, well, okay, maybe they know what they're doing and I don't. So, alright, so that was the comic book news. So following the comic book news, we get another comic book code. So it's the same deal. There's going to be a code. You go to the redemption site, you redeem it. You can download it using the app, whether it's on your Android or your tablet or your Apple device, or even, you can watch it on your PC or read it on your PC. So there's your code. Don't forget some very important points about these codes. A, it's for reading comic books. That's cool. Oh yeah, it's free, and it's free comic books. I just kind of ad-libbed that, didn't I? So what have I been reading in comic books? Well, again, I brought my read pile, but I'm not going to put them up in front of the screen like I did last time because I actually found that a little distracting. Especially, I think there was actually the detective that I read last week. The cover I had and the one that I put up on the video were two different covers. And that happens, too, from time to time. So, well, this almost turned out to be, and you're going to find the weird theme here, and it was not done on purpose. I swear. Mocking Dead number 2. I'm thoroughly enjoying this comic book, and I'm glad it's only kind of a short, limited run because I don't think they can make a full series out of it. Basically, the military know of a problem that's going down in Pittsburgh. Their protocols are to refer to this gentleman, and this gentleman is actually kind of like a pop culture expert. In other words, he's not a scientist. He's not a published anything. He is just kind of like an internet nerd that used to be associated with the government when it came to protocols. But his ideas are not scientific. It's all based upon movies and comic books when it comes to zombie apocalypse and the elimination. And the military don't listen to him. They're not listening to him, and they need to, because his ideas will work, as they are finding out as they're trying to do their military intelligence, which should never be used in the same sentence and it's not working out as they planned it. So I've enjoyed that thoroughly. The next one is it's actually a couple weeks late. Just took me a while to get around to it. Fanboys versus Zombies. I've been reading this as an ongoing. I haven't really talked about it because it's just an ongoing story. Nothing really cool in it. I mean, they have some references to a gentleman named Kurt, but it's really Robert Kirkman. He's a big guy with a beard. Anyways, in this one, we have a gentleman named Gunther, and he is besieged. In other words, he has zombies at the front door and at the back door. He can't get out of this building, which happens to be a comic book store. Yay! So what he's trying to do, he's reading this book, 4 short stories about how to possibly survive a zombie apocalypse, and, well, it could work. We don't know. You have to find out. Now, this other one, I actually even forgot it was coming out until it hit the shelf last week. And I normally don't read... It's been years since I've read Archie comics, but this one is not for the kids. It's Archie Afterlife. And what happens, it's kind of sad when it starts off. So Jughead's dog, Hot Dog, I can't believe I remember this stuff, gets hit by a car, and the Jughead takes it to Sabrina, the teenage witch, and says, you know, you guys got to help. And, well, the dog expired before he got there, and they said, sorry, Jughead, we can't do anything. But Sabrina would not take no for an answer. So she called upon the Book of the Dead. Yes, the Book of the Dead, how do you pronounce that? The Book of the Dead is the Necronomicon. I think I said that right. And she used its powers to bring Hot Dog back, and he's not the same dog. And we'll just leave it there. So far, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's not your typical Archie with all the golly gee willikers sort of stuff. Anyways, so Walking Dead #1, Color Division, and issue 115 I read this week. Issue 115 is the launching point for a 12-issue story arc called All Out War. And I call it a story arc because Walking Dead has never really had one of those it starts low, hits a climax, kind of levels off, and then we have a conclusion. They've never really done that. It's been just like this ongoing, moving from one spot to another, trying to get ahead of the zombies, trying to find a place to catch your breath. So that's what that is. And again, the #1 color is pretty sweet. So as you can see, that was kind of my theme, and it was not on purpose. It wasn't on purpose until I put my read pile together here at the HQ to talk to you guys. Now, the other one I read, and I talked about it in the synopsis of last one, was Batgirl 24. Gail Simone's been doing a really top-notch job on this title. I enjoy reading Batgirl to where I think the only other time I enjoyed reading Batgirl was a limited series called Oracle. And I'm not sure, but I think she might even wrote that one, Gail Simone. So it would seem that Ricky's not really dead. However, at the crime scene, Barbara Gordon is there, but she's disguised. She's not Batgirl, but she's surrounded by cops and her dad, and they want to arrest her. So she's got to get out of it somehow. She does, maybe. I'm not telling you. Now, I have a comic here that I'm only halfway done through, but I wanted to tell you about it. It's from Image Comics, and it's called Rocket Girl. And I know the first thing that comes to my head is the Elton John song. And some people should be impressed I even know that, because music is not my thing. Comic books, zombies, video games, chocolate chip cookies, and ice cream. Yeah, that's about it. Anyways, this is about a teenage police officer from the future that comes back to undo a wrong. And her future is everyone is a teenager, so I'm pretty much screwed in the future, according to this. So that's what I've read. There's a lot more out there. I just like to bring in the highlights. I even caught up on some of the DC villains that I hadn't read that I didn't think were too appealing that actually turned out pretty good. So after telling you about what I read, I usually go into a little side segment here about what's coming out. However, due to technical difficulties, I can't get to my list of what I'm getting next week. So I will have a link down in the show notes for a web link to the Gamer Circle site that'll tell you what's coming out, but I can't highlight because I don't know what we're getting next week. I usually know by today, but I can't get to the information. So there you go. So again, though, that doesn't mean you get gypped on a comic book code. Comic book code. Comic book code. I wonder if I should stop trying to sing that and just go comic book code. No, I don't like that either. Comic book code. Comic book code. All right, so there you go. Comic book code. Get it, read it, enjoy it. It's free, and that's cool. Now we're going to move on to gaming news. And there's actually quite a bit out there, and we're moving into this kind of a critical time. We're like about a month away, a little bit over a month. Well, we're just going to say a month to where the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One are going to launch. And I know when that happens, there's going to be a ton of news. Good news, bad news, and who knows what news. Anyways, I'm going to try to put a video in this video of just a short one. But Valve actually had a video showing off their controller, that thing that I was not able to describe. It's a controller that's very similar in design. It just doesn't have nothing to move. It's all, smooth and shiny, and I don't know how to describe it. Anyways, they did Portal, which I could see playing Portal with a controller versus just a keyboard. And then they showed a strategy game, Civilization 5, I believe. Now, that's a strategy game, not a real-time strategy game, because it's turn-based, if I'm remembering my strategy games correctly. And I think it's a very cool idea, and I was very impressed with what they were doing and how they were doing it. Now, I'm impressed just because we have more competition in the console area, and I think it is really great, because the more competition, it's better for us as a consumer. It helps keep possibly the prices coming down. Not that you're going to see all these titles showing up, because Valve is primarily kind of PC gaming. So, it doesn't mean it's a competitive console. It's a competitive game platform, I think is a better way of saying it. Now, like I said, I was impressed, because it was good to see it actually being used on some fairly state-of-the-art games, like Portal 2. It's very action-based, but, I can see how that's easily transferable. The strategy games, they explain it, and this is my little, I guess, bewilderment. How difficult or how easy will this controller be to configure for a game? Are they going to have a bunch of presets you can download that are easy to interpret? And then, once again, there are games, some real-time strategy games, stuff that happens real fast, that I need a mouse for. Now, if they can make a controller substitute and take over and make it more enjoyable, cool. I'll be the first one on board. But I think it's going to be a cold day in Alaska. That's every day, right? Until they can convince me that a game like StarCraft or any of the other real-time strategy games out there, Company of Heroes, where you have massive units that you have to go and click on quickly, I don't think a controller can do those. I may be wrong, but I can't see it. But again, that's just me. So last time I kind of got a little pissy about Grand Theft Auto. I don't own it. I haven't bought it, so obviously I don't own it. But it was the whole online experience that, even though it was free, and you bought the game for $50, $60, $65, depending upon if you got the golden edition, it was like $150. You bought the game. The standalone game, I guess they had some minor little issues that they did fix with some patches. I say minor because it's depending upon your perspective. But the game was extremely playable. The missions were there. Lots of people sitting there, they're having fun. It was the online part where people were, first of all, it was supposed to launch that same day, but they delayed it by 2 or 3 weeks. And it was still, you couldn't get on. There were so many problems. Well, it looks like Rocksteady, they've fixed most of the problems. They've got a patch coming out. And what they're doing is actually they're apologizing or thanking everyone for their input. And this is what a developer should do. First of all, let me back up. A developer should be more prepared for an online launch. And look, I know how hard that can be. I really do. I'm kind of from the industry, even though I talk comic books, but I know, as I used to be in the industry when it comes to computer games and stuff like that, I know that it's hard to estimate, but there are, if you're a good developer, you know how to do stress tests and power loads and all sorts of stuff. So when it comes to launch day, you will be more prepared, because I didn't see any beta reports on the GTA Online. So I don't think they really had a good focus. I think they were just wanting to get the game out. And again, it was a great game, a beautiful game. But as what they're doing is they're actually releasing into the game. And I'm going to read my notes here, so sorry for not looking directly at you. They said, for the trouble, Rockstar is letting players know what was wrong. So they were not invisible. They kept in communication via Twitter and their forums. Every player that has logged on to GTA Online in October and updated to version 1.04, so that's important, are expected within the next week to receive $500,000 of GTA Online currency, which is basically $10. You can actually buy that too at $10. So they're basically giving you $10. So that is good. All right, it's better than nothing, but if, like I said, if you bought the game at $60, now you got it $50 if you're still playing on online. If you've already finished the mission and you've kind of tucked it away on the shelf, I think you're missing another good experience. So anyways, I digressed. Okay, so that's what I got for gaming news. There was a ton more out there, but it was like little small stuff, and I didn't want to get into it. So now we move on to what I've been gaming, what I've been playing, what games I've been playing. How's that? I am stuck in Batman Arkham City, and I finished the game. For those of you that are just chiming in, I've actually finished the game. I finished the DLC, the Harley Quinn's Revenge, and I went through and I got every single Riddler trophy from Batman's perspective. I still have some for Catwoman's, but there's this other game mode that's called New Game Plus, and the dudes are tougher. They get weapons faster, and I'm currently stuck trying to get to Mr. Freeze, and the Penguin has kind of like this. He's got about 20 guys that are auditioning to be in the Penguin gang, and you got to take them all out. And I'm stuck right there because there's just way too many of them. They hit harder. They got knives and they got stun rods and all that kind of malarkey. But the new game I've been playing, State of Decay, which is again zombie themed because it's October and we got Walking Dead TV coming up tomorrow. Plus the 10th anniversary of The Walking Dead. Anyway, State of Decay is made by Undead Labs. It was originally an arcade game on the Xbox, and if you buy it for $19.99 on Steam Arcade, you get into the early access. And right now they only say it supports controller. You have to have a controller hooked to your PC, but people have found a way to where you can go in and enable the PC or the keyboard and the mouse on your PC. I don't want to do that. I just want to play it right out and make sure I don't cause any problems. They've had a couple of small updates, and that there is where I'm a little miffed with these people, because they seem to be very, very in touch with their fan base. However, I bought the game on Steam, so I'm looking at the Steam forums, and they're doing most of their communication on their forums, and I think that's wrong. I think their communication, community manager, whatever you want to call it, cross-post, I don't care, but you know, if you're going to post something here, post it over here. And yes, you might have to maintain 2 threads, but you know, dang it, I'm feeling isolated. Anyway, in the game, I'm having some fun. It got to be a little boring and monotonous because the town that I'm in and the group I'm with, I kept getting sent, when I'm on a mission, I'd get like 2 missions via the radio. And you know, I don't want to say it's hard. It's just kind of one of those mundane parts of it in games. You get you don't get quests. You get, go do this. And it's not one of those things to where you can't still play the game, because you can do whatever you want, basically. But if you run out of supplies, you don't have a place to go to repair your stuff and to get your vehicles repaired, you're going to be kind of screwed. So now I've seen a couple of new interesting zombies. I'm seeing more people or more AI PC dudes or dudettes too in the game. But it's got some problems, mainly with lighting. And when I say that, it's like when it's night and you have to use your headlights or your flashlight. Wow, the illumination is way off, and it's almost scary. Maybe they did that on purpose. But I kind of wish that Undead Labs would be a little bit more visible in Steam forums, and I wish they'd put another patch out to fix some things, maybe. But it's very playable, and I haven't come across any major bugs except for the lighting thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the show. I'm sorry that it was so short, or I'm sorry if it was so long, and then I was just very talky there. And again, you know, I say this every show, and I honestly mean it too. Those of you that send me feedback via YouTube, direct email, on Google+, it means a lot to me because it shows me that, people are watching this. They're listening. I don't know what the draw is because I'm just some average schmo on this side of the screen talking to you all. And I appreciate you guys listening, and I appreciate you not just chiming in and going, yeah, that's right, but actually giving me really good feedback on the subject matters, even when I'm wrong, you know, because I may be a little dyslexic when I read this stuff. But again, thank you very much for the feedback, for the subscriptions, for all the likes, for all the thumbs up. And don't forget, next Wednesday is what? That's right, New Comic Book Day. And not any less important or any more important, tomorrow, October 13th, is the Season 4 premiere of The Walking Dead. So if you don't watch it, that's okay. I feel for you. But a lot of people that I know are looking forward to it. And I just hope no one goes out there and spoils it, because that would be terrible. Because I'm on the West Coast, so I got to wait. So anyways, you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.